I'm gonna light up my lips. Set them aglow with Yardley's pot of gloss. It's wetter. Shinier.
Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/tiltedtripodmedia and become a member today and gain access to all of my secret content as well as other member-exclusive perks. And thank you for supporting the future of video. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Urbex. Today is a double feature. First, we're going to take a look at the Middlesboro Mall in Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is located right next to the Cumberland Gap and the Cumberland Gap National Park. Alright, so we're going to get this right out of the way. I absolutely love the aesthetics of this place. I mean, it looks like it hasn't changed since the day it opened. The brown tile floor and the wood paneling on a lot of the storefronts just take you back to your childhood. This mall is located in a small town in the Appalachian region of Kentucky, and there really isn't a lot over here as far as retail goes. This is really the only mall for quite some distance. And yes, it's located just about on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. The mall opened back in October of 1983, and its original anchors were Belk, JCPenney, Kmart, and an array of other specialty merchants. Unfortunately now, the Pennies and the Kmart are long gone. Man, it would have been cool to see a Kmart in a mall. Yes, I was alive around back then when Kmarts were in malls, but the area that I grew up in, we just didn't have Kmarts connected to our malls. And by the time I got old enough to go out and explore on my own and travel, most of the Kmarts in the malls were just long gone or way too far away. Rounding the corner and heading over to the middle part of the mall, I began to grin from ear to ear when I saw this fountain. It was spectacular because a lot of malls nowadays are just ditching their fountains because they're high maintenance and whatnot, but I want you to just sit back and enjoy.
That's awesome.
After the mall opened with its 3 original anchors, the next anchor to join would be Sears in 1987. Everything at the mall seemed to be doing really well until June 1st of 2002, when the Kmart would close. 2006 would see a brand new Steve & Barry's open in place of the Kmart. Unfortunately, though, that wouldn't last very long because in 2009, the Steve & Barry's Corporation filed for bankruptcy. After that, a Rose's discount store would move into the space in 2010. For those of you that are unfamiliar with what Rose's is, it's like if you took Kmart and downgraded it and made it a discount store. You know, it's got really inexpensive cheap stuff. Kind of like Ollie's Bargains. You know, good stuff cheap. This collectible store had a lot of really cool stuff in it, so if you're in the area and can stop by the mall, definitely check it out. Also, this movie theater looked really neat. I would have loved to have been able to stop by and see a movie. I think the place is still open. Unfortunately, I just didn't have time. The Sears would leave the mall in November of 2012, and am I reading this correct? It says it would open a brand new store north of the mall on US Route 25E. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense because back in 2012, they weren't doing really well right then, and I didn't see them opening very many stores, so that just seems odd that they would relocate outside of the mall. Maybe that information is wrong. If someone could leave a comment down below that lived in the area and let me know. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 would take its toll on this mall, and the JCPenney would announce that it would be closing that year. Well, that's going to do it for the Middlesboro Mall. Let's head on over to our next location. The Boone Mall, a small mall in a remote college town nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, located in Boone, North Carolina. The mall would begin in 1980 with a meager construction cost of only $2.5 million. The mall's original anchors would be JCPenney, Rite Aid, Food Town, and soon after a Belk department store. This mall had a very explosive beginning, and I do mean that in the literal sense. Because in 1981, a local newspaper reported an explosion inside the mall, causing extensive damage to the Italian Village restaurant, a number of other shops, and smoke damage throughout the mall all the way over to the Belk store. I mean, wow, talk about starting off a brand new mall with a bang. Many of the local newspapers reported that the explosion came from within the Italian Village restaurant. Shortly after the incident, a man was detained and criminally charged. Another would also come forward testifying as an accomplice to the crime. And of course, this led many to believe that the explosion was actually set off as insurance fraud. Or at least that's what most of the news articles say. Fortunately, this major explosion was only a minor hiccup in the mall's early beginnings, as they would quickly make repairs and reopen for business. Now, I don't know why, but shortly after the explosion, the Rite Aid and the Food Town would depart the mall never to return. And today, in their place, is a TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and a few other smaller stores. So you have to remember that this mall is located within the Appalachian Mountains, and when it rains, all that water runs down the mountains and into the valleys and low-lying areas. And usually the towns and cities are located in the low-lying areas because they're more flat and it's easier to build there. So yes, this mall is in an area that's prone to flooding. Not to the point where the mall itself is really affected, but the parking lots and everything surrounding the mall from time to time will flood, and that's been a problem over the years with this mall, and it's kind of a damper on things. The next major tenant to leave this mall would be the JCPenney in 2017. This would also prompt a number of the inline tenants to leave the mall as well, along with the JCPenney, as they would see this as a downward decline of the mall itself. Because usually when a major anchor tenant leaves a mall, you'll then begin to see less foot traffic, leading to overall less sales at the inline stores. Fortunately, a brand new Hobby Lobby would come to fill the void in 2018. Unfortunately, it would not have a mall entrance, meaning you would have to access it from outside the mall. Which is a shame because a lot of times when an anchor tenant does not have mall access, it decreases foot traffic within the mall. Having weathered the pandemic of 2020, I'd have to say this mall is still doing pretty well. This footage was shot right when the mall opened, so that's why there's not a whole lot of people walking around. But for being a remote, small college town mall, I'd have to say it's doing really well, retaining most of its anchors. I was surprised to see a Panera Bread at the mall and a recently added Ulta Beauty. While visiting and filming the nearby Mass General Store, also located in Boone, North Carolina, I spoke with one of the sales associates there, and I mentioned that I just visited this mall. And her reply went something like this: "Oh, that sad mall?" And I was just like, I didn't really think it was that bad of a mall for being in such a small remote college town. Boone, North Carolina really is a cool college town out in the middle of nowhere, but it's definitely worth a visit. I did film several other things in Boone, North Carolina, so look for videos on those in the near future. Thank you everyone for supporting all the work I do here and checking out these awesome malls on my Tennessee and North Carolina trip. If you wouldn't give the video a thumbs up, it'll really help me out, as well as subscribe and ring that bell icon. And I'll catch you on another episode of Urbex.